Hi everyone.
Hello.
Here with me is Sara. Sara represents Funnel, and Sara works for Funnel, and Sara will share her thoughts about the Agile technologies. So welcome, and I'm removing myself. Sara, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sara Wänerskär and I work at a company called Funnel. Funnel was founded in 2015 and we have offices in Stockholm and in Boston. The developers sit in the Stockholm office. Lean and Agile are important concepts in our product development process, and we are convinced that this enables us to create greater value for our customers and to be more efficient. But it can seem like this way of working is very much on our terms. In this talk, I will start by explaining what we mean when we talk about Lean and Agile, and then move on to the impact that this can have on our customers. Stakeholders, such as customers, need to trust the Funnel development team. But how can this be achieved when we make no promises? First, a bit of background information on Funnel. Funnel provides data engineering as a service. It is a subscription-based product. We sell what we call business-ready data. That is, data that can be used by the business side of the customers straight away with minimal involvement from their developers. The majority of teams use Python in the daily work. Our tech stack uses Docker containers and everything runs on Amazon Web Services. As far as programming languages are concerned, teams can choose what they use, and some have started experimenting with Go, ClojureScript, and Rust. But most use JavaScript and, most importantly, Python. If you want to work quickly and do small experiments, Python is the language to use. In the early days, way back in 2015, we started using Python simply because it was used at the organization that gave birth to Funnel. However, the fact that they just happen to choose Python can be no happy coincidence, as the language lends itself to quick coding and doing experiments. Funnel has been as active in designing the tech organization as we have been in architecting our tech stack. Quick coding and small experiments make you think of lean development, and lean is the central philosophy in our product development process. The purpose of lean is to eliminate waste in the production system and to increase flow. But what is lean? Niklas Moding and Per Åhlström, the authors of This is Lean, cite Womack, Roos and Jones. They claim that lean includes 4 principles: teamwork, communication, elimination of waste, and continuous improvement. There are other ways of describing lean, but the point is to remedy bottlenecks, only produce what is needed when it is needed, and to get the product to the customer as soon as possible. Agile ways of working can be used to realize lean. It can enable us to deliver more value to the customer, move faster, reduce risk, and to keep our freedom. No one can predict the future, and that is why 5-year plans or roadmaps can make an organization less effective. No one would have thought that most of us would be working from home now, to take an extreme example. So what does it mean that the developers at Funnel are agile? Agile is quite an overused term, and it can mean just about anything. So we need a more precise definition of agile for it to be useful. There are many interpretations, but in our world, agile includes self-organizing teams, no roadmaps or deadlines, continuous deployment, and continuous learning. Let's have a look at what these mean in real life. Self-organizing teams. Agile at Funnel means that we have autonomous developer teams. They can make their own decisions and have enough context and competence to act independently. The team will work with the customer to understand the use case, but will not promise to do anything beforehand. Having empowered development teams is vital to avoid technical debt and to make sure that we are doing what is best for the product. The team building the solution has the final say. This way of working helps us to only build features that are appropriate for the product. On the other hand, unhappy customers cannot get something fixed just by asking to speak with the manager in an angry voice. Roadmaps and deadlines. What are the problems with roadmaps and deadlines? We cannot see into the future. We also need to know that we are working on what is most important at this very moment. When you are agile without deadlines, you do not make any promises. We guarantee an existing functionality and promise to fix any bugs, but it is not possible to promise any new functionality without setting a date, and we cannot know how we're going to solve a customer's problem beforehand. If we do not know what we're going to build, we cannot say how long it will take. The only thing we can say is that we strive to make as small releases as possible. Continuous deployment. Funnel has a microservices-based architecture. We have an automated deployment process and push code into production several times a day. Conway's law from 1968 states that any organization that designs a system, defined broadly, will produce a design whose structure is a copy of the organizer's communication structure. In the seminal work on DevOps, the book Accelerate, Forsgren, Humble, and Kim find support for the inverse Conway maneuver, which states that organizations can achieve their goal tech architecture by shaping the organization and its teams accordingly. Being aware of Conway's law, together with having microservices, makes it easy for teams to deploy often and independently of each other. Continuous learning. Now, there are several aspects of continuous learning. One is learning from daily work. We do experiments and draw conclusions. Or we might learn a new technology to solve a problem. Learnings are shared in the organization. And on top of that, there are regular learning sessions and senior developers whose job it is to spread knowledge and to help junior developers grow their skills. But what about the needs of the customers and the stakeholders? Stakeholders for the dev organization includes the commercial side, our product managers and customers. There are more stakeholders, but these are the ones that immediately spring to mind. Stakeholders need to know when their problem is going to be solved. There needs to be a certain amount of predictability in the process. How can that be achieved if you're not using deadlines? Or does Agile stand in the way of having a transparent and predictable workflow? You will not find any mention of us being Agile on the customer-facing parts of our homepage, and this is not something our customers are overly concerned with either. Those interested will react when they find out that we do not have a roadmap. There is no catalog of features that we are planning to build. Customers will often make suggestions for possible improvements, but the developers will not make promises when and how they are going to implement them. It is up to the commercial side, that is, sales and customer success, to explain that it is not possible to say what will happen in the next 6 months or so, and that this is exactly how we want it. One thing to keep in mind here is that most of our customers have a background in marketing rather than tech, so they are less likely to be used to Agile methodologies. They might also want an idea of when a new feature will be implemented so that they can better plan their work. A date when they expect us to be finished, a deadline if you wish. Still, with our interpretation of Agile, the developers avoid deadlines. As we have seen, having deadlines has more significant consequences than one might think. You have made commitments on what to do in the future and may not be able to build whatever is most important at that given time. Therefore, deadlines increase risk. So we put the product in front of the customer. Being agile means that we can create greater value for the customer and keep our freedom at the same time. Customers will notice that we release new functionality often. They should see that we listen to the feedback and that we can solve their problem faster. than they expected, even though we cannot say when and how we're going to do it beforehand. But how can we build acceptance and trust without making promises? No one will trust us just because we tell them to. What are the building blocks? The building blocks of trust and empathy are empathy. You need to show results. You need to have transparency and great communication between departments. And now, as a surprise, the commercial side at Funnel has become Agile too. And just what is trust and acceptance anyway? So what do these mean? Empathy. Developers do not sit in a dark corner, far away from the customers. Nothing could be further from the truth. There is a rolling schedule for handling support together with the commercial side. Developers also have a dialogue with customers in technical issues and when analyzing customer impact on new functionality. It can be uncomfortable for developers to work in this way. We have a global customer base, so things like time zones can also be an issue. However, this is one of the few areas where we have little freedom, and we are strongly encouraged to work actively with customer representatives. We as developers need to understand the users and the challenges they are facing when using our product. We need to have empathy. So our customers get new functionality often, and it can be harder to keep track of all the changes when there is a constant stream of them. No one can know the product to 100%. Customers do not care that we are agile, and it should not be any of their concern. They do care that we can move quickly. Developers show that they are productive by releasing code often. Frequent releases into production is a way of building trust, being transparent, and fulfilling our part of the contract with the rest of the organization and external stakeholders. This way, developers can keep their freedom and hopefully feel that they, together with the commercial side and the customers, can have a positive impact on the product. So agile ways of working help us. Transparency and openness. Anyone can see what we are working on and what we are planning to do next. The commercial side prioritizes tasks that they have created. Developer teams work on tasks from the commercial side, as well as initiatives from product managers and internal dev initiatives. Updates on ongoing work and any problems that can arise are discussed at morning meetings. So we make a real effort to make work and progress visible. Having self-organizing teams who work without deadlines can seem like management is out of control. However, the emphasis on visualizing work and being transparent makes it apparent that management is not giving up control at all. On the contrary, they have access to all the updated information on progress they want, and probably more information that they could possibly use. Having transparency on your own terms is important. You need to find a sustainable way of being transparent and open so that the information stakeholders can access is up to date. Communication. We need to know what we can expect from our colleagues, and we need to know what they expect from us. Stakeholders want to know when we start working on a task. If the stakeholders are within the organization, informing them can be as easy as keeping our Kanban boards up to date. Having a strong culture helps efficient communication. Everyone is on the same page and has a common goal. When you have several self-organizing teams, there needs to be a common vision for everyone to move in the same direction. And as I said earlier, the commercial side has begun their agile journey too. And putting soft values in front of winning a deal can feel strange for a salesperson, but it does make the entire organization more aligned. Focus on soft values decreases the risk of tunnel sight when negotiating a deal. So Soft values enable us to think more long-term about what features to build. Continuing on what I said earlier, we put the product above the customer and the organization, that is ourselves, above the product. And in the end, this focus on soft values enables us to create greater value for the customer, as well as for ourselves and Funnel's owners. We are pretty happy with what we have achieved this far, but previous success is no guarantee of future good. Funnel has grown rapidly, and now we're all working from home. People also bring whatever has happened in their private life into work, and having colleagues who are human is just a fact of life. But it also highlights that trust and psychological safety is not something you achieve. It's an ongoing process. So we need to keep on iterating over it and not take it for granted. But just what is psychological safety anyway? Google researchers found that it was a crucial factor in successful teams. Other factors were dependability, structure and clarity, meaning and impact. But psychological safety was by far the most important. And feeling safe is an essential contributor to creativity. It implies that teammates are not afraid to look ignorant or stupid when asking for more background information on an issue. So it is safe to take a risk in the team. Psychological safety is central to the way we work. And when development teams build a more experimental solution to a problem, they need to understand the task fully, feel free to ask questions, and to be open for free feedback. One upside of being agile is that developers like to be agile, we think, and it is likely to be a contributor to low staff turnover. And people staying in an organization for longer helps to build relationships and mutual trust. And everyone needs to be on board for this way of working to work. So agile methodologies make the organization both more robust and more vulnerable. At the moment, work is more challenging because it is difficult to get those informal conversations that spread knowledge and lead to new insights. Relationships are harder to build and maintain. With offices in both Stockholm and Boston, it has been important for new funnelers to meet. But this has not been possible under COVID. We need to have colleagues who know and like each other. On the other hand, having offices on 2 continents means that people are used to working remotely. Funnel's journey highlights the aspects of Agile that can feel counterintuitive. Putting the product before the customer enables us to solve their problems faster. It helps us to stay focused and also helps us to avoid building up massive amounts of technical debt. Soft values enable us to move quickly, both in the short and the long term. Being agile is the best way of moving fast without creating chaos that we know of. On a side note, I do not think that any organization will start building a new feature without analyzing how well the product can support it. But at Funnel, this fact has been made explicit. The company has grown a lot in the last few years, and we would probably have had greater difficulties adapting if it weren't for our clearly defined agile ways of working. These explicitly defined ways of working, together with an awareness of how important it is to think about how we work, have also helped us to adapt to remote work during the COVID-19 crisis, although it has not been without its problems. At the moment, the COVID crisis and resulting isolation have driven a need for a more formalized way of working. There is also a greater need for developer documentation. Communication between teams does not run as smoothly by itself anymore. Some developers have been inspired by the book Team Topologies. Amongst other things, the book discusses how teams interact. Do they collaborate, consume each other's work as a service, or is it a facilitating relationship where one team helps another team with an issue? Knowing this will set expectations in how teams communicate. There will be expectations whether you think about them or not, so you might as well be aware of them. So what have we learned today? Is it possible to be agile and free and still have a clear contract with stakeholders? As we have seen, working without deadlines and a roadmap can make it seem like management and stakeholders are less in control. However, with a focus on making work visible and being open means that the case is quite the opposite. When you make transparency a priority and find sustainable ways of making sure that information progress is up to date, it also becomes apparent that it is the team's responsibility to keep it up to date. So teams are very active in building trust. Our way of working is a way of handling changing requirements without creating chaos. It is also a way of making change an integral part of the daily work. The organization is continually evolving, but when you work in small steps like we do, change is barely noticed. It's just a case of making small experiments and improvements to the product and our way of working. Developers build things. That's it. Working in self-organizing teams emphasizes the contribution of the individual. In other organizations, psychological safety can be mostly dependent on management. So if you have a nice boss, you feel great. And if management is manipulative or threatening, that will cause stress. With self-organizing teams, it is more apparent that all team members contribute to the well-being of those around them. With self-organizing teams, everyone can reflect and have an impact on how they work. Mob programming, for example, is an important part of daily developer life at Funnel, but it looks different in each team, both today and back in the good old days when we were working from the office. And using Python to achieve all this makes sense. With Python, it is easy to make small experiments and coding can be quick. It is also an easy language to learn. And that means that knowing Python does not have to be a prerequisite for employment. Knowing another object-oriented backend language can be enough. Python's ease of use enables us to focus on soft skills in the recruitment process and in the daily work. It makes the organization stronger in the long run. But our customers do not have to care about any of this, and they don't. What we can do is show them how often we release new functionality whilst promising them as little as possible. And that was it for me. Thank you. Here are some interesting resources for you to look at if you want more information.
Thank you very much, Sara.
Thank you.
So, can I close your slides and make... no, I will keep the information in case our watchers like to read that. And while we are waiting for questions from the audience, may I ask you, so you mentioned the COVID crisis and the remote work. What tools perhaps do you use to improve intra-team and inter-team communication in the daily working process?
Well, we use Slack a lot, and many teams have ongoing remote meetings all day.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can jump in and jump out.
So they kind of like keep their statuses or their webcams all the time on to like make it smoother, or? No,
but you use the same Google Meet all the time.
Okay.
So if you want to talk to someone, you can just ask to, let's have a chat in the Meet.
So basically it's one room for the whole day for all the team members.
Yeah, every day.
That's actually interesting. Okay, and then you have told basically a success story for the Agile, but could you say where the limits for Agile is? Because like there is this strict planning on this side, and there is this fully Agile approach on this side. Where's the boundary between them? Because I can imagine in some, especially in big industrial facilities, it's not possible to be Agile if you have to anyway plan years ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we've taken Agile quite far. And we have also adapted Agile principles that suits us. So maybe that is the sort of key to success, is that you do not use a concept straight away. You use the parts that you think might be suitable and that can help you. And then you're also open to changing them and change how you use them and maybe abandon some.
Okay, so you refer to the parts of your software, right? You can use what you use, but okay, I just can't imagine that if we think of automating a huge industrial site, I don't know, a mining facility or something, or a plant, perhaps it's impossible to make some parts automatic and leave all the rest to, I don't know, some old system, or maybe
Yeah, I mean, we was founded in 2015, so we don't really have any sort of big old legacy applications.
Okay. So there is some limit to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Seems that our audience is satisfied. There are no questions. But I invite everyone to further interact on Slack and any other means that you may find useful. And thanks a lot again for this excellent talk.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.